This conference will now be recorded.
If I want to look at the stages, what is the command?
Show stages.
Can you guys mute yourself? Yeah, okay. SQL Snowsql -c dev. So it's taking a while. Okay. Use SFDB. Use schema. SF schema. Show stages. And when you say show stages, what stages do you see?
User stages.
Huh?
User stages.
Named stage, sir.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. There was an audio problem. So whenever you say show stages, right, it goes and brings the data, and that is only for user stages, the stages that you have created. So what stages we can create? What are the stages that we can create? User stages. In user stages, what kinds of stages can we create? Which ones can we create? Named stage, and then
Table
there are
stage.
in
Table stage.
no table stage we cannot create. User stage we cannot create. In the stages, right? We have only named stage, and in the named stage we have two of them, permanent and temporary. It will show you permanent and temporary, only these two. Okay, this is no pro question as well. Okay, and then if you want to see what are the contents of my named stage, how do I see that? You guys have to speak out, please.
List.
Yeah, list.
Sir, I can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So whenever you have any spaces in the folder name, right, you cannot have that. It has to be no spaces in the folder name. And when you normally in Windows, when you have space in the folder name, you can create a space with the folder name as well, right? But if that is the case, for example, this is, if it is like this, right, it doesn't work. /emp.csv, for example, and I am inserting into which I want to create a folder of my stage, and then data load / 12/09/2020 / that's it. So if you go and then do it, right, it throws you an error. The reason is, right, there is a space. If there is a space, it doesn't identify what it is. I tried all kinds of stuff. I couldn't figure out. Let me try this. No, unexpected training. I tried with backslashes. I tried all kinds of stuff. See, if I say list, see, this is my folder. Data load slash so and so slash emp.csv.gz. Okay. Sorry. So in this way, you can organize your folder structure, and then you can push the data into the stages. Okay. So, and we'll do this complete exercise. Now we have this folder, right? Yeah. And we were talking about the copy command. So we looked at all the file formats, and I've shown you how to create the file formats. Now let's go and then do the we can create a file. So we can now let's go and then see how can we create a stage with a file format. Create or replace stage my CSV stage. Okay, file underscore format is equal to my CSV format. Okay, describe stage my CSV stage. So these are all the stage options. Stage, file format, my CSV format. Copy options, on error, what to do. If you want to purge, you can purge. Truncate columns, you can truncate. Force URL. We will look into these options. But for now, you have associated a particular stage with a particular file format. I'll tell you how it helps you. Okay. And then we were trying to query from the stage, right? So what was the query that we were doing yesterday? Select $1. So what is list at the rate of my stage? Okay. So I'll say select $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 from what is the you can query from at the rate of my stage slash emp slash esv.gz. Okay, and then when you query this, right, it shows you all the data. See, this is the stuff, and you can limit the conditions as well. Limit 5. Okay, but if you see, you have the headers because this file is not parsed. When you associate a file format with this particular SQL statement, then it can parse the data and then show you as well. That's what we have seen yesterday. So file, and when you're trying to query from a stage, right, this is the syntax. You have to remember this exact syntax. File underscore format equal to greater than symbol single quotes my CSV format. And all the other places you don't need to give like this. You just give when I created the file format upstairs the above statement, right? See, I've just given file underscore format from my CSV format. This holds good on all the other cases, but when you're trying to query from a stage means we are reading from an internal stage and we are reading like this. In that particular scenario, you have to pass the file format like this. This is the syntax. File underscore format equal to greater than symbol my CSV format. Okay, limit 5. See, the header is gone. Okay, and I have two files with me. Let me go and then what is the EMP, right? So if we go and query this EMP, right? Let's no limit and then query it. So all of them 11, 17 and all this stuff 11, 17. Let's try to change the date format to date of $5. It will see automatically by default the format that shows in Snowflake is YYYYMMDD. So that is the reason now it got converted into dates. Okay, and if you want to filter something where $3 equals to analyst, you can filter the data as well, and then see, you can do as good as if you're there are some restrictions on this particular reading the stage, but this is as good as reading from the worksheet or Nosql or connecting to a particular database and reading. Okay, so this is what it's you can do transformations in a stage, and you can so you can the reason for letting you know the transformation is right. I'll tell you. So next thing we'll talk about the copy statement. Let's go and then see what is the copy exceptions of copy statement. So and you can query it from a temporary stage, you can query it from named stage, you can query from a table stage, and you can query from a user stage. All the stages you can do query, and you can use the SQL commands for querying and then do transformations, and from there you can use this particular SQL statement for loading into a table as well. Okay, so I'll show you an example of that, but before that let's go querying from a stage. I have file format name. I have given the example as well, file underscore format, file format name. You can do transformations in stage, loading subset of data. So this copy, we did not go to the copy part yet. And then if you have any sequences kind of things, right, auto increment, or you have created a table within a column one auto increment, and when you're trying to load, you can skip this column and load the data as well. And the functions that can be used in the transformation is these are all the functions: substring, XML, JSON, parse, length, ltrim, lpad, lower of, split. All these functions can be used in the transformation of your SQL. Okay. Now let's do the copy into command. So copy into, I was telling you, right, how do you load the data into a table? When you do insert into select star from, right, that becomes you can still load a data into table from this stage, right? So show tables, you have emp. I'm truncating. So truncate is a dangerous thing in SnowSQL. I explain you why, but for now I'm just deleting. Delete from emp. So insert into, where is my select statement, right? Okay. I don't want the filter condition. Okay. $5, $6, $7, $8, I think. Okay. And then this is the department number. Until this we can, so insert into table, you can do this as well. Insert into emp, select star from, 15 rows inserted. Okay. 1.16 seconds. So this is a serial fashion. It goes, there is no parallelism involved in it. So it runs, gets the reads the data and loads the data. It's a very minimal number of records, so you won't find much of a performance difference. But if you use copy command, right? So copy runs in parallel, and then so how many of you have a little bit understanding of AWS?
I have.
I have a basics, sir. Basics of AWS.
Yeah. So normally what happens behind the curtain? I'm going to talk a little bit of the EC2 nodes and then the S3 buckets. That is very important for you. That knowledge is also important. I'm going to explain you how things work with those AWS part of it. But before going there, right? See, Snowflake is nothing but a wrapper on top of AWS. Okay, whatever you do, the hardware or the clusters, they use AWS clusters or Azure clusters or GCP clusters, and the storage, they use the storage apps like S3 buckets or blob storages. So that is the reason Snowflake has a bigger footprint. Snowflake can be implemented on these three, but Azure, Cosmos DB or Azure DB, it can be done only on Azure. Redshift only on, these are the competitors, Cosmos DB and Azure DB, and Redshift on AWS, and then BigQuery in Google, right? These are the competitors for Snowflake. But those things, they can work only in their cloud environments. But Snowflake can work with any of the cloud environments. So you have a bigger footprint. Bigger footprint means more number of jobs. And the reason why I have chosen AWS is, right, AWS has 80% footprint in the cloud part of it, so you will have more number of jobs on AWS. That is the reason I'm teaching you guys in AWS and then Snowflake kind of thing. Okay, so this copy command, whenever you run, right, it uses the hardware of AWS, and the hardware out of AWS, they are called EC2 nodes, Elastic Cloud Compute Nodes, ECC, Cloud Computer. That is, they call EC2. S3 means simple storage service. There are three S's, right? That's the reason they call it S3. And EC2 means there are two C's, they call it EC2. So EC2 is something like, if you go and see, right? EC AWS EC2 pricing. And then if you look at it, right, there is some calculator or something, per second billing, AWS pricing calculator. Okay. And if you go and check anywhere in the documentation or anywhere, they don't say what. So here you can choose whatever server you want. What is the type of server? How can you choose that? And what is the price of each server? What is the configuration of each server? They'll let you know. Okay. So getting started. Okay. And what Snowflake, I was telling you, right? 8 virtual CPUs, and then I was telling you that 200 gig RAM, that is wrong. It's 16 GB RAM. So the total is, I was mistaken. Somehow I got confused. So let me show you how that can be derived. Give me a second. These are all the internal things that you cannot learn from the documentation as well. Okay. This is my, one second. This is my, I'm logging into the system. So worksheet is this is an URL, right? It's kind of page. This is nothing but a web page. The moment you execute something, it it goes and then gets the data and shows you the data. But this is nothing but a page. If you say control F12, right? Function F12 to debug, right? It tells you what are all the stuff that it has. Okay. So if you go and say select 1.0, right? I'm clearing everything and I'll issue a command here. And then whatever the queries that you have executed, right? It goes all, it shows you all the stuff. Okay. So let me show you something. Queries. And if you see response, right? These are all the debugging of a particular web page. This is nothing but a web page, right? This is, and then you go, one second, I'll show you. I'll copy this into, this is just for the informational purposes. This is nothing to do with Yeah, so I already have this. If you go and see, it's a warehouse server type, and the warehouse server type is C5D 2x large. So this is the EC2 server that they do. They use for the extra small. The server we talked about extra small. It has only one server, and then small there are two servers, right? This is the server they use for running the SQL queries that we execute from Snowflake. You guys are following what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if you go and what I was trying to look at the pricing part of it, right? Let me AWS calculator. AWS pricing calculator. Cost estimate. EC2. Amazon EC2. Configure. Okay. And whatever the region you want to choose, the same thing like okay. And here there is a region description, and then I'm trying to configure and to look what is my Linux search instances by name, the servers by name, and the server name that we are trying, right? This is the one C5D 2x large. I'll just say C5D, C5D, CFD large 2x large. And if you look at it, right, C5D 2x large, virtual CPU is 8, 16 gig. So they call it gigabyte. When it comes to cloud, right, they measure a little bit. It's about 1.7 times or 1.2 times. I exactly don't remember the conversion part of it.
That's 1024.
Yeah, 1.07. So 16 GB means gigabyte. So 16, 17 point. So 17.17 into 8. So that is your hardware configuration. Where is the page? Yeah. And the price for using it, right? If you look at it, for one entire year, hourly cost is 0.242. On demand hourly cost is 0.384. So if this particular server runs for 1 hour, how much are we charged in Snowflake? For take the enterprise edition for North America zone, I've shown you if a particular cluster with one server extra small runs for 1 hour, how many credits will we be charged? You guys don't remember that? I have it somewhere here. Snowflake. Yeah. If an extra small server runs for 1 hour, how many credits it will burn? 1 credit. And based on the addition, if it's North America, and then if you go to the pricing, right? For 1 credit, how much is the pricing? Platform is AWS, region is something, and then if it's an enterprise edition, can you see cost per credit is $3. And if you look at the cost per credit of this particular AWS machine, right, how much is it? On demand hourly is 3.4. These guys have definitely signed up for 0.242, and we are paying $3 here. How much is the difference? almost 2.8, because Snowflake has done a lot of stuff. They have implemented from the scratch. They're trying to, that is a wrapper that works on top of the AWS, right? You are paying $3 instead of 0.24. If you use AWS and use this cluster, this particular server and build a cluster, right? And if you run this 0.242, you understood the behind the curtain scene.
Yes.
Okay, is it clear enough or confusing? So there are 8 virtual CPUs. So that means there are 8 threads. When you run with copy, it will run with 8 threads. Okay. So let's look at the copy part of it. Okay. And this is not one. Okay. So copy into table name. Namespace means the fully qualified name. Database.schema.table name from whichever stage you want have. Files. You can pass files, not one single file. You can pass many number of files. And then pattern is a regular expression. That means in your directory and your stage, you can go and do regex, regular expression, and then filter. I want to have all the files which start with small a, capital A, and with the ends with dot csv, capital csv, small tsv, and then tsv. So you can use a regular pattern matching mechanism and then filter the data, because when you're working on production environment, each stage has a lot of files that you might be loading. And then the framework that I have part of which we designed, right? Which every day it transforms about ingests about 263 terabytes of data. We have about 2500 databases, and each of them with 30 to 40 schemas and an average 600 tables. You can multiply 2500 into 30 into 600. That is the total number of tables, and that we do incremental load every day. So the framework that I have developed, so if you look at the volume of tables, right, you will have a lot of files that is being generated and putting into stage and all this stuff, right? If you want to see what are the files that are loaded for today, you can do a pattern matching of today's date and then filter the files and load the files as well. Got it? And file format name. So this is what it is: brackets, flower bracket, format name is equal to, and whatever the file format if you have, or type equal to. I was talking about free form, right? This is how you can write the free form. And formatting options, you can write all the formatting options. Skip header equal to 1, and whatever the formatting option that we have seen for the files, you can write it. And then this is called copy options. So there is a validation mode. Validation mode means, what if there are any you want to, there are two things: preload, postload. You can do validate your data that has been loaded into your table, and if you want to do a validation before loading, it's called a preload. And if you want to do after loading, that's called a postload. So when you're trying to do preload, right, this validation mode goes and checks your data and tells if there are any errors, so that you don't need to load the data into the, it spits out the errors. It spits out. So there are three validation modes. One is return errors. It returns all the errors, and then return all errors. That means, for example, you have done a load onto employee table, and after next day you have done. So there were some failures in yesterday's run, and today you are trying to load again, and today also it throws some errors. If you say return all errors, right, it shows you the yesterday's errors as well as today's errors. Return errors is only for these particular files what you have sent, it throws the errors. Return n rows, right? This is one important thing. So you can give one row or two or three. N means number of rows. And if there is no error in the entire file, it spits the first row of the file. And if there is error in the file, it spits out the first line of the error. I'll show you an example of all this stuff, but I'm just trying to explain you theoretically. Okay. and this is directly loading from table to sorry, your stage to table. You're not doing any transformation. What if you have any transformation? We have written some select statements on top of the stage, and you want to load them in a copy fashion, in a parallel fashion. You can write like this: copy into so, and then select. You can write from, copy into from instead of stage, right? Copy into from this particular stage from, and then you can write a select statement which you can do transformations, and then the same thing, file formats, everything, validation mode, and load there. This validation mode is preload. You can validate your data before loading into the database. Okay, so sorry, before loading into the table. So these are some of the examples. Copy into table from my stage path one file.csv. Copy into table, this one. Copy into table, this is the table stage. This is user stage. Okay. Copying from S3 buckets. So S3 buckets, if this you have access to the S3 buckets, that is the reason you will say external location. If you have location access, then you can directly go and load from that particular thing as well. I'll show you an example on that as well. Hold on here. So if you're trying to do it from Azure, right? This is for S3. Azure account, blob, core, Windows, mic enter, entity file, file one.csv. This is an example of it. And then, so this is with without validation. This is, that means you are going to load the data and then post validate it. So pre-validation doesn't load anything into the table. It just spits out the error so that you can fix the errors and load it into the table. But you can still load the data and post validate it. You can go and check how many records got failed, and then you can validate them, reload them, and all this stuff. Okay, this is how it is. Copy into table from, and there are three of them. So copy options, right? On error, what to do? Skip file, abort statement, and then there is one more thing. Skip n files. And when we try to load it from the web UI, right? I was showing you all the options. Skip file, skip number of rows. Do you remember that? Do you want me to show you one more time? Sorry? Okay, I'm going to databases. And what is this called? This thing. All the tabs here, right? Buttons here. What is this called?
Ribbon.
Menu ribbon. And then
Menu.
you have to remember, if you're writing a Snow Pro exam, they'll ask you something like databases, schemas, shares, worksheets, and history. So which one is wrong? Databases, schemas. Yeah, you don't
Schemas.
have schemas. Schemas is not there. So these kind of questions they ask you. You have to be thorough, and then you have to be more focused when you're trying to write an exam. Okay. And I do train for the Snow Pro examination as well. It's a 1 week course. So low table. I'm trying to from compute WH next. So select files, and we have emp.csv, and then next, and you can select multiple files as well. Okay, not only one single file. And the format we have already created the format. Next, load options is the one that we are talking. Do not load any data if there is an error. So if you go and look at the SQL, right, it shows you the SQL on error skip file. This is what I told you, and purge is equal to true. And stop loading, roll back, and return the error. For example, you have selected 5 files, right? While loading from web UI or bulk load, there are 8 threads, and then it tries to load, and then each of the thread. Sorry. Okay. So when you have 5 files that you are trying to load, and then there are 8 threads, right? Each VM or virtual CPU goes and then reads one file and then tries start loading into the data. independent of the other thing. So if any of the files fail, right? If you want to stop loading and roll back the right, you can do like this. Abort statement means it doesn't load any of the files. It aborts this, the load and then rolls back if the other threads have already inserted some data into the table also. It aborts rolls back the data and then cancels out the entire copy command. Okay. And then if you say the third one, if there are two errors and if two lines fail, right, then do not load. This is called skip file 2. On error, skip file 2 means it skips the file if there are more than two lines, two errors happening in that particular file. Okay. And continue loading means it doesn't think anything, it just loads the whole thing. Okay. This is continue, on error, continue. And if the purge is equal to true, if the copy command is successful, it goes and removes the file from the stage so that you don't manually go and then remove the file. Okay. I'm just canceling. Let's come back. So, and this is the copy command that I was talking about. So,
Sir, one quick question. So on every load happens, if it is failed or pass, the purge will run, right? So that time again we need to
no,
load the file.
no, if the file copy is successful, then only it will purge. If not, it doesn't load the file. It doesn't purge the file from the stage.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So next time also you have to get the file back. Okay, on error, continue. So this is with the SQL statement, right? That I was just trying to show you because we are querying from the stage and you have to use this particular syntax. Okay. And then next part of it, right? So these are some of the, we'll do some exercises as well, and these are some of the examples. And I'll do some lab exercises as well. So I'll show you what at the end of the class. I'll tell you how to do the lab exercise. And okay, so copy into my table. File format is equal to, and type. I was talking about the free file format, right? File underscore format is equal to type is equal to CSV, and pattern matching dot star csv dot zz if you want to pull all the dot csv dot zz files, and then copy into table. File format is equal to format name is equal to my format pattern sales star dot csv. Copy into tables with specific files. You can do test1.csv, test2.csv, and then you can load it. Copy into table from this particular location. Files is equal to, and force is equal to true. We'll talk about it. Copy. Guys, can you mute yourself? I'm hearing a lot of noise, please. And if you want to talk to me, right, you can unmute and talk to me, please. Okay. And purge is equal to true. So you can set the purge options for a table as well. So because you are trying to load into a table, alter table set stage copy options is equal to purge is equal to true, then automatically when the data gets loaded into the table, it automatically purges that particular file. Copy into my table, purge is equal to true. So these are some of the options. Okay. Copy into table with validation mode. Return rows, return two rows. Okay. Copy into the log. I'll show you how to do the log, right? And then
Sir, on first one. So one moment. Yeah, and the first one, so it loads all the sales related files, right?
yes,
In the
all
first
the files. Yeah, this is the
sales.
second one. You're talking about this one or this one?
Yeah. The below one, sir.
Yeah. So it tries to identify, search all the files which have sales dot star and then which ends with a CSV.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Okay. So this is dot sales dot. So sales is somewhere anywhere in the file name. That's what it means. Okay. So, and I have given you the step-by-step creations of how to do it, but we are going to do something. Okay. And so before going there, right, I just want to talk a little bit more about the validation mode. Return n rows, return errors, return all errors. So I have explained you return errors, returns all errors, parsing across all files specified in the copy statement. Return n rows validates the specified number of rows if no errors are encoded, otherwise fails at the first error. I'll show you that example as well. Return all errors, I told you, right? In even the previous load on the same table, if there are errors, it shows you that particular thing. Validation mode does not support copy statements that transform data during a load. When you are trying to transfer something and then use the validation mode, right, it doesn't work for you. That is one catch. And this is an interview question as well as a Snowflake question. Whenever you are trying to transform, can you use validation mode? No. Okay. And then
Sir,
validate
it means
function.
loading the file.
Yeah, loading a file into a table, right?
Okay.
Okay. And then so there is a validate function. This is for the post validation. We'll look at it. So let's now go and then try to do all the exercises that we have done. So copy into EMP. Let's delete the table. Okay. And then so copy into EMP from @ my stage / EMP p.csv. I'm gonna run this. It throws me. So can you read this? Numeric error employee number is not recognized. File emp.csv. So can you guess what was the reason for error? It says if you want to skip the file, you can skip the file off, or you can use on error continue option so that you can load the data. Understood, right? So you tell me what might be the reason.
It is considering the header.
Yeah. So how do you skip the header? We'll say file underscore format is equal to my CSV format so that it parses the data. The data got loaded 15 rows parse, rows loaded 15, and we're all good. Okay. So now let's go show stages, right? We have my CSV stage, right? Let me put the file. And one more thing, right? In Snowflake, if you just type put and then use up arrow, it shows you the previous, like the history, right? If you want to get it from the history, you can get up arrow or down arrow. You can use any of them to search for your SQL commands. And I'll say this my CSV underscore stage. Okay. So list @ my CSV underscore stage. Okay. One file got loaded. Now I'm doing this same thing copy into, but here because my folder is already associated to a file format, because when we created it, right, we have already associated a file format with the stage. if my stage is already associated, I don't need to give the file format option here. And can you see copy executed with 0 files? Why? So if you already load a file and this particular file signature is not into a particular table, and if you're trying to reload the same file, Snowflake doesn't allow you. It has the metadata of the file. When you load it, right, it has the MD5 signature, and then it knows what is the table that you're trying to load into. And if you repeat that with the same file name, right, it doesn't allow you to load the data. Okay. So to overcome this, right, they have given one more option called force is equal to true. Sorry. No, did we load it into, sorry, my bad. My CSV. So, no, sorry, my bad. I was loading from the same stage, so it identified the file, it was not processing it. So I loaded it from this one, but I did not give any file format option. So it knows that the file that is sitting in the stage is of type CSV, and we have given associated the file format with it. So based on the file format, it has loaded the data into this table. Okay, and then yeah. So now I am trying to load into the yeah. If you are trying with this one, right? File underscore format equal to my CSV format. Force is equal to true. So whenever you use force is equal to true, right? It goes and then loads the data again. Got it? So this is an interview question as well. I have a file and the file has been already loaded. How do you want to load the file? So if you use force equal to true option, you can load the file. And if the signature of the file, the timestamp or anything gets changed, right, then it automatically goes and loads the file again. So let's go and then try to see. So these are the emp.csv, right? I open. So I modified something. The timestamp of the file gets modified. Now I'm going here. So I'm trying to load this file into my stage. If you see, right, target size 0 and the status is skipped. The reason, the file already exists in my stage. emp.csv rm. Okay. So data is loaded, and now I am trying to copy into the table. See, it loaded 15. The moment you modify the file with the same name, it is allowing you to load the data. If it is of the same file, so if whenever the file signature gets modified, if you make any changes in the file, you can load the data again. Understood?
Yeah, yes, sir. So it's overwriting here.
Yeah, it goes and makes duplicate rows. You have to be careful what did the data part. It goes and inserts. If you go and see, select count one from EMP 60 rows. Keeps on loading. It becomes duplicate data, but you have to make sure whatever the data that you are trying to load is clean and neat. Okay. So these are a couple of questions. What if the file you're sending the same file again after 1 hour? Can you load it? Yes, as long as the signature of the previous file in this file is modified, then you can load it. Okay. And now let's go delete this data.
Okay, sir, it is not overwriting, right?
No, it's not overwriting.
It is appending the data. Like we need to
Yes,
identify what are all duplicates and all like.
yes, yes, yes. Okay. So, and that is one option. And the other one is right. Delete from EMP. What is that? I have lowered the data. The second option is transformation, right? So I have another file called emp1.csv. So I'll go edit with notepad. And if you look at these high dates, right? If you open the file in Excel, the CSV it automatically formats and brings you some dates. So you have to be very careful when you're trying to open your CSV in Excel mode, and if you save, right, the formats gets changed. So that's how it happens. So if you see, there are hyphens, there are slashes, and as long as my table, okay. So what is the data type of my table? High date here. What is the data type of my table? High date column?
It's varchar, sir.
Varchar. So what I'm doing, right? So I'm going, and before that, right, one more example I want to show you. So I'm loading this particular file again. See, 0 files copied. Okay, so it stores the copy history. When was this file? What was the file? When was it loaded? It has all the metadata in it. And I'm going to do one thing: truncate table emp. See, 15 rows. Whenever you truncate, the metadata of that particular table also goes away. You have to be very careful with the truncate statement. So the truncate statement is dangerous in Snowflake. That is the reason. When you truncate the object, the metadata of the object is also cleared, and you were able to load the data one more time. Got it? And then what is the other stuff that I wanted to show you? Yeah. So let me go to this particular thing. I'll create the table. And if you look at the high date data type in this table creation, right? It's date. And if you have, let me get this one table as well. So now let's go and see. Select $5 from you see different formats here. Okay, so now let's go and then load the data. How can you load the data now? Because these are of two different format types. If all of them are one format and you want to change the format, you can use the file format option. And now we have two different things. Now we have to handle this in the transformation mode only. Okay, so let's go and then do the copy command. Copy into emp1.csv, right? Sorry, which table? Did we create the table? No, right?
Sir, employee one, right?
No, we can create or replace. We can do this. Normally in databases, you do it for views only. In Snowflake, and you can replace the table as well. Okay. So now I have created the table. This I'm trying to do. This emp high date cannot be recognized. The date is of different file formats. 0501 something. I don't know what you are trying to load. It doesn't validate as a date, and then it fails. And if you want to continue, right? I want to see what a validation mode is equal to validation mode. Okay.
Sir, you told the validation mode will not work in when you want to transform your table, then validation mode will not work.
Yes, definitely not work. But if you want to see what are all the errors in your file, right? This helps you validation mode. It throws there are 6 rows. Produce time elapsed time. This is the error. Is not recognized. High date, high date, high date, and then you can go troubleshoot and see. Okay. So now you have seen, and then I'll say return 2 rows. See, it shows me the first error where in which line it has the error. Okay, if you go and change it to emp1, right? Even emp1 has, sorry, emp. It gives you 2 rows. If you have asked for 1 row, it gives you the first row. Okay, if there is an error, it goes and throws the first error. On which line it is having the error, it throws it. Okay, and then let's copy into. So let's do the validation mode with copy into emp from select $1, $2, $3, $4, $5. Okay, so ZZ, then you have to write file underscore format my CSV format. Okay, and I'm trying to load the data. Stage, my stage. Okay, What's happening? Shit. So 15 rows gone. So we are loading from EMP1. I can go and change it to EMP1. So okay, it throws you an error. Hide it. There is an error in something. So if you put validation mode, it throws you an error. It doesn't load data into the table. Okay. Now I'm gonna go and then $5, right? Replace comma hyphen is a problem. I'm replacing with slash. See, 15 rows got loaded. There were some hyphens, so hyphens were not getting loaded. So that's what it is now. Okay. So one more example. Let me check what is the example. Hold on, please.
So one more, like there is another way of we can convert the date into two date format. Is that also work? True date of that $5 and then date
No,
syntax. Is that work?
that I can try that for you as well. What is other 5, right? There is something. Oops, oh, code. So 0 files executed. I'll say force equal to true. See, there's an error.
Yeah, okay.
The reason is right. It has different formats in the column. Different types of. So it cannot. If it's of same type, then it can. So if you want to do that, right? Where is our replace? Here you can make it 2 date. Then it will work fine. Okay.
Yeah, it's got it. So
Okay. This is something. And we have seen validation mode and the other part, right? How do you
without
transform?
validation, but we need to load that one,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
post validation.
Okay. On error. Load failed. Number of total rows loaded 0. Error limit 1. This date format is not recognized. Okay. You can say about set. Invalid earlier.
Statement.
Yeah, I forgot the syntax
Typo
of
error,
it.
sir. Typo error.
Oh, STATEME. Yeah. So the date is not. So it's just it revert back the whole load, and I can say continue. Rows parsed 15, rows loaded 9, error limit 15, and the details of it. Okay. So this is how we can do it, and then we'll do an exercise tomorrow. So the exercise is like this.
Okay, sir. Those rejected records would be stored in any way, or we need to
Yeah.
identify them?
No, but there is a way that you can identify. We'll continue tomorrow. Okay. And tomorrow what we are trying to do is, right, load a file into stage 2, load data into table 3, errors, if errors, log the errors in a separate table. Okay. After that, move the CSV file, move the CSV file into archive directory. Okay. So this is stuff that we can do, and then I'll talk about post validation, how do you do, and all this stuff. We'll catch up on that tomorrow. Got it?
Okay, sir.
So we're all good, and I'll send out this particular slide decks to or put it in the shared folder so that you guys can look into it. And if you have any questions, you can ping me on the WhatsApp group. Okay?
Hi, sir. Hello.
Yeah, Srinath.
So that log error we are maintaining for in a stage and table both also, sir, or only in
No,
table level only?
table level only.
Okay.
I'll show you. There are not many number of use cases. I showed you many things so far now, right? And if you want my SQL statements, I can give you the SQL statement that I have run. Do you want that as well?
No, sir. Let them tomorrow we can.
Yeah. So
Thank
when you go to this Snowflake installation directory, right? Users, and then LPC, and then SnowSQL. Oops. And if you go to history, right? Whatever the statements that I've run, it's all in here. Copy commands, error situations, and I have given in the slide deck also. I have given each every step and step to do that. $1, so all this stuff. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, sir.
So no problem. Yeah. Let's catch up tomorrow, guys. Okay.
Okay, sir. So shall I post the questions? Only the questions, no answers?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. If you have any questions on this, you can ask me. I can answer now.
Okay, sir. And I mean, I'm asking regarding the questions that I'm supposed to post in WhatsApp, the interview questions
Yeah.
or what we have come across in the class today.
So how do you load the same file?
Hmm.
You got a file at 10 o'clock and you got another file at 11 o'clock, the same file. Can we load that?
Okay.
Number two, so what happens? I have loaded a file into the table and I have truncated the table. And if I load it again, what happens? Whether the file will pass through or it skips that particular file. What happens? Okay.
Okay.
And there are a lot of performance considerations that we need to talk. Which file size, which is the best optimal file size that you can load and all this stuff. There are many questions on top of it. Performance of data ingestion, then we can talk about it.
Okay. Sir.
Okay. Okay. Good. Yeah. So let's catch up tomorrow. Okay. Bye, guys.
Yeah, okay. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
sir.
Bye.
Okay, bye, sir.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.